So, is God trying to wake you up? In this video, I want to share with you four signs that suggest, yeah, he actually is. So, yesterday, we talked about the pain of being underexpressed as a powerful woman. Do you remember? If you didn't see that video, I just strongly suggest that you go back and have a look at that. And in that video, I shared with you some of my story about how I know this pain very well, the pain of being underexpressed as a powerful woman. I know it very well because several points in the juncture of my leadership development and throughout my professional life, I've really felt this. I've really felt like there's more for me to be, more for me to do, more for me to say. And, this kind of challenge into stepping into that. So as I think about this and as I, ponder on what we shared in the video, I realize that there's a little bit more context that I want to I want to offer to you in case you too are in this place where you're waking up to the realization that there's more for you to be. You're a senior leader, you've done well by any measure of things, but all of a sudden, things aren't working. All of a sudden, what felt good or what felt fine or what was working just no longer is. You're dissatisfied and there is dis-ease. If that's you, then today I want to talk to you about what I call the awakening. I've learned that the discomfort that we experience in this thing that we've been describing is evidence that God is trying to wake you up to a greater expression of who you were born to be. And there are four telltale signs that you're being woken up, that you're being awakened, divinely interrupted. So here are the four signs, okay? See if you recognize any of these. The first one is you're becoming aware increasingly of a huge contradiction between who you know yourself to be, the leader that you recognize yourself as on the inside, the powerful woman that you know that you are, and the one that shows up in the boardroom, the one that shows up in leadership context, the one that shows up professionally. Like there's a mismatch, there's a kind of out of alignment, there is a contradiction that you are becoming increasingly aware of. It's uncomfortable to see it, and you maybe not even know what to do about it, but you can see it, right? That's the first sign that you're waking up to the contradiction with the mismatch with who you're being. The second one is that you're waking up to a sense of calling. It's coming from the inside, this sense that there's more for you to be, that you're meant for more. This sense that this perception that you can't shake, that you're being called. Perhaps you think of it as even being called divinely, or maybe not. You just know that inside there's this unction, this sense that there's more for you to be, that you're meant for more. That's the call, that you're being called to be more, do more, say more, create more, express more. And it's a calling that's bubbling up from within. Do you recognize that? What about number three? This third sign is crisis and cries. This sign is when you are waking up. Perhaps you've been oblivious to it before, but all of a sudden you're waking up to the realization that people are crying, people are dying, people are suffering as a direct or indirect result of how your industry operates. That you are seeing things that should stop, that should start, that are wrong, that aren't right, that wrongs that need to be righted. Like you can see your eyes have been opened all of a sudden out of nowhere. You just feel you just feel um connected. You feel that you see things that need to be shifted. You see things that need to change. And it's not just seeing it, but it's bothering you. You can unsee it. You can't just go on about your day as though you haven't seen it. Actually, now you've seen it, it's like it's impregnated you with a sense of possibility, a sense of what needs to happen. You're seeing the cries, you're seeing the crisis, you're seeing the calamity somewhere in your industry, and you feeling increasingly like this is something that needs to get handled. That's number sign. That's the sign number three. Sign number four is that you hear the tick tick tocking of the clock. You hear the calendar flipping to the next day and the next week and the next month. All of a sudden, you're waking up to the realization that you're no spring chicken, that that life is moving on. Like, I identify with this one because this whole video series is me running up to my 60th birthday. And oh my goodness, it's like this awakening that I've been experiencing just recently, and I'll tell you more about the awakening that I'm personally just coming out of in a future video. But, I want to show you this sign that oftentimes when women come to me, this is what they're saying. They're saying that they're feeling like they haven't they can't afford to wait. Time is of the essence. They're feeling like time. They can hear the tick-tocking, time is whizzing by, and they feel like they're getting a sense of their own mortality. They're getting a sense of, work while it's day. They're getting a sense of seizing the day, like using the time that they have and have left to make the most of their life and leave their legacy. So these four signs: contradiction, call, crisis, and calamity in the cries, or the calendar and the clock. Are you waking up to any of these? I know it's uncomfortable, and I've heard many women, including myself, describe this awakening that comes out of nowhere. Like, work was fine, leadership was fine, professional life was fine, and life was fine. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere comes this awakening. I've heard somebody call it an unwelcomed intruder. I've heard somebody say it's a rude awakening. And what they're describing is the discomfort of waking up. I mean, we're creatures of habit, right? We want to keep things the same. But what if God is trying to wake you up? Because there's something in you that the world still needs. What if God is trying to wake you up because there's a contribution that you have not yet made? What if God is trying to wake you up because there's a frequency of your voice that's not yet been released, or a level of influence that you've not yet expressed? What if there's a difference that only you can make? What if God is trying to bring your attention to the work of your life, the work that you were born for, the work that you were made for, the work that you were positioned for? And what if this discomfort of the awakening is not an intrusion? What if it's not punishment? What if it's not a problem, but a summons? What if it's a summons to take your place? I come to see that this is exactly what the awakening is every single time. And like I'm not going to be backwards in telling you that I've experienced this awakening several times throughout my professional career. It feels debilitating at the time, but every single time I've come to see that this awakening has opened my eyes somehow, and somehow I have this raised level of consciousness about who I'm becoming, who I'm meant to be, about my potential, about my purpose, about new vision for my leadership, new vision for my life, new desires for impact and influence. I've seen that time and time again that this discomfort, this uncomfortable awakening is a divine introduction to a me that I am yet to become. So let me ask you something. Are you waking up? Are you becoming more and more aware of these four signs: the conflict, the call, the crisis, or the calendar and the clock? I think the awakening is a divine intervention, a kind of spiritual technology that activates the conditions for our desire and growth and fuller expression of ourselves. And it's a powerful part of our becoming who we were born to be. who we're destined to be, who we need to be for our lives to be fully expressed. So if you've been feeling restless, dissatisfied, underwhelmed, and if you've been sensing that there's more for you to be, then I would say don't rush to be getting rid of this feeling and the discomfort of the awakening. Instead, I'm encouraging you to ask yourself a different question. What am I waking up to? Because the awakening may be uncomfortable, but it might also be the beginning of the most important chapter of your leadership yet. Wake up, power carrier. I believe that God is trying to get your attention. See you tomorrow.